The space station hung in the darkness like a metal flower, its arms reaching out toward the stars. Ships from dozens of worlds docked at its ports, bringing traders and diplomats from across known space. This was Kepler-7, where species met to exchange goods and words instead of weapons. Dayhine stood at the viewport of his cargo ship, watching the station grow larger. He was a merchant, like his father before him, traveling the trade routes between human colonies and alien markets. His ship was small but fast, carrying medicines and machine parts that other worlds needed. Beside him, his younger sister Ji-woo worked on a damaged panel, her hands moving quickly over the wires. "The docking clamp is acting up again," she said without looking up. "I can fix it, but we'll need to buy new parts here." Dae-hyun nodded. Ji-woo could fix anything. She had learned engineering on their father's ship, taking apart engines before she was 12. Now at 25, there was no machine she couldn't understand. The station control gave them permission to dock. As their ship settled into place, Dae-hyun gathered their trade permits. This would be their first time dealing with the Shrikes, the reptilian warriors who controlled this sector. He had heard stories about them. They were hunters, born predators who had conquered their homeworld's food chain. Before reaching the stars, the docking bay was busy with activity. Dae-hyun saw species he recognized and some he didn't. Then he spotted them. The Shrikes were impossible to miss. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, covered in dark scales that shifted colors in the light. Their eyes were yellow with vertical pupils, and their hands ended in claws that could tear through metal. They moved with the grace of natural killers. One of the Shrikes noticed Dae-hyun and Ji-woo. He approached with 2 others following behind. His scales were marked with scars, signs of many battles. "Humans," the Shrike said in rough but clear galactic common. "I am Tralvik. You are new to this station." "We are," Dae-hyun replied calmly. "I'm Dae-hyun, captain of the Morning Star. This is my sister and engineer, Ji-woo." Tralvik's mouth opened slightly, showing rows of sharp teeth. It might have been a smile or a threat display. "Humans are strange. You look weak, soft, like prey animals. Yet you travel the stars in ships." He turned to his companions. "Perhaps they taste good." The other Shrikes made clicking sounds that might have been laughter. Ji-woo tensed beside Dae-hyun, but he remained calm. "We might surprise you," he said simply. Before Tralvik could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed along the corridors. A voice came over the speakers in multiple languages. "Emergency lockdown. All personnel report to secure locations. A specimen has escaped from Xenobiology Lab 7. Repeat, containment breach." The busy docking bay erupted into chaos. Aliens ran in different directions, seeking shelter. Tralvik and his companions drew weapons, falling into a defensive formation. "Avoid Stalker," one of them hissed. "I can smell it." Dae-hyun had read about Void Stalkers. They were bioengineered killing machines, created by some long-dead civilization for war. Fast, intelligent, nearly impossible to track. Even the Shrikes feared them. "We should secure the ship," Ji-woo said quietly. But Dae-hyun was studying the bay's layout, his eyes following the ventilation shafts and maintenance passages. "Look there," he pointed to a wall panel. Deep scratches marked the metal, fresh and bright. "It came through that way." Tralvik followed his gaze. "You can see its trail?" "It's disturbed," Dae-hyun said. He walked closer, examining the scratches. "It's moving toward the lower levels, probably seeking dark, enclosed spaces." He knelt down, touching a spot on the floor where some substance had dripped. He sniffed it carefully. "This is fresh. Less than 5 minutes old." Ji-woo was already moving toward their ship. She returned with a toolkit and 2 electric stunners. If it's heading down, it will use the vertical shafts. There are only 3 routes from here to the lower decks. The Shrikes watched in confusion as the 2 humans began setting up equipment near the ventilation openings. Daehyun worked with calm efficiency, placing motion sensors at specific angles. Ji-woo rewired a cargo net, connecting it to a remote trigger. "What are you doing?" Tralvik demanded. "Security forces will handle this." "Security is busy evacuating civilians," Daehyun replied. "This creature hunts by ambush. It will wait for prey to come to it, but we can force it to move." He finished placing his sensors and stood back. Ji-woo, send the drone into Shaft 2. Ji-woo activated a small flying drone, guiding it into the darkness of the ventilation system. On her handheld screen, they could see through the drone's camera. The shaft was dark and narrow, perfect territory for a stalker. Something moved in the shadows. Fast. The drone's camera caught a glimpse of black skin, multiple limbs and teeth before the feed went dead. "Shaft 2, Ji-woo confirmed. "It's moving toward us now." Daehyun picked up the stunner and positioned himself near the opening. "When it emerges, it will go for the nearest target." "That's me. Don't fire until it's fully exposed." Tralvik stepped forward, his weapon raised. "This is foolish. You cannot predict a Void Stalker's behavior." "We can," Daehyun said quietly, "because we know what it wants, and we know how predators think." The seconds stretched long. Then the ventilation grid exploded outward. The Void Stalker burst from the opening, all black flesh and snapping jaws, moving faster than the eye could follow. It leaped toward Daehyun. He didn't run. He stepped aside at the last possible moment, letting the creature's momentum carry it past him directly into the rewired cargo net. Ji-woo hit the trigger. The net electrified, wrapping around the thrashing creature. It screamed, a sound that hurt to hear, but the net held. Station security arrived moments later, finding the Void Stalker contained and the 2 humans calmly packing their equipment. Tralvik stood very still, his yellow eyes fixed on Daehyun with new understanding. "How did you know?" the Shrike asked quietly. Daehyun looked at him. "Because on our world, we learned to think like both the hunter and the hunted. We had to survive." The Shrike warrior said nothing more, but as he walked away, he did not make jokes about prey anymore. News of the Void Stalker capture spread through the station faster than radio waves. By the next morning, every species on Kepler 7 knew about the 2 humans who had trapped a creature that even trained hunters feared. Daehyun found the attention uncomfortable. He was trying to negotiate prices for his cargo when Commander Krell appeared in the trading hall. Krell was larger than Tralvik, his scales darker and marked with more scars. He wore the badges of a military leader, and his presence made other aliens step back. He approached Daehyun's table directly. "Human?" Krell said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. "You embarrassed my warriors yesterday. Some now say humans are better hunters than Shrikes." Daehyun set down his datapad. "I meant no offense. We simply did what was necessary." "Your words are careful," Krell observed. "But words mean nothing to a Shrike. We prove ourselves through action." He placed the device on the table. It projected an image of a moon, rocky and covered with forests. "There is a moon near this station. We use it for training hunts. I challenge you and your companions to join us. We will see if your success was luck or skill." Ji-woo, who was standing nearby, crossed her arms. "We're traders, not hunters. Are you afraid?" Krell asked. His teeth showed. Before Ji-woo could respond, another human approached. This was Hyun-soo, a xenobiologist who studied at the station's research center. He was thin and wore glasses that he didn't need, but liked anyway. "I heard you mention a hunt," Hyun-soo said eagerly. I would love to observe local wildlife. May I join? Daehan wanted to refuse, but he saw the calculation in Krell's eyes. This was a test, and refusing would mark all humans as cowards. We accept, he said. What are we hunting? Granite horns, Krell replied. They are large, aggressive, and dangerous. Perfect prey for proving one's worth. 2 days later, they stood on the moon's surface. The air was breathable but thin. Forests of strange blue plants covered the rocky ground. The hunting party consisted of Krell, 3 other Shrike warriors, Daehan, Ji-woo, and Hyun-soo. The Shrikes moved quickly through the forest, their bodies built for speed and power. They tracked the granite horn signs with practiced efficiency. Within an hour, they found their prey. The creature was massive, standing 12 feet tall with thick armor plates and 2 horns that could pierce steel. It was grazing in a clearing, unaware of the hunters. Krell signaled his warriors. They spread out, using the classic Shrike ambush formation. Then they attacked, moving as one. The granite horn bellowed in surprise and pain as energy weapons struck its armor. It charged, fast for something so large. The Shrikes scattered, firing from different angles, but the creature was strong. It smashed through trees, forcing the Shrikes to keep moving. The battle was fierce and fast. After 10 minutes of intense fighting, the granite horn broke away and ran deeper into the forest, bleeding but alive. Krell hissed in frustration. It escaped. We will rest and track it again. Why rest? Daehan asked. We have been running and fighting. We need to recover our strength. Daehan looked at Ji-woo and Hyun-soo. We'll continue tracking it. You can catch up when you're ready. Krell's eyes narrowed. You will lose the trail. But the humans were already moving. They didn't run fast like the Shrikes had. They moved at a steady pace, following the blood trail and broken plants. Hyun-soo pointed out signs that even the Shrikes had missed, his scientist's eye seeing patterns in the disturbed earth dot after 20 minutes. Krell and his warriors caught up, their rest finished. They were surprised to find the humans still moving at the same steady pace. You are slow, one of the warriors observed. We're consistent, Ji-woo corrected. They found the granite horn again near a water source. Krell's team attacked once more, their speed and power overwhelming. But again, the creature escaped after a brutal fight. The Shrikes needed rest again. The humans kept walking. This pattern repeated through the day and into the night. The Shrikes would sprint, attack, then need to recover. The humans never stopped. They walked through the darkness with small lights, following the trail that grew fresher with each hour. The granite horn was tiring, its wounds bleeding more, its rest becoming longer. By dawn of the second day, the Shrikes were exhausted. They had rested multiple times, but their bodies were not built for this kind of sustained effort. Krell watched the humans with growing unease. Daehan's face showed fatigue, but his pace never changed. Ji-woo's legs should have been cramping, but she kept moving. Hyun-soo talked constantly about the local plants, as if this were a pleasant hike. How? Krell demanded. How are you still moving? Hyun-soo adjusted his glasses. Human physiology is built for endurance. On Earth, our ancestors would hunt by simply following prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We can't outrun most animals, but we can outlast anything. That's insane, one of the Shrike warriors said. It's effective, Daehan replied. They found the granite horn at midday on the second day. The creature was lying down, its massive sides heaving with exhaustion. It tried to stand when it saw them, but its legs trembled. There was no fight left in it. Krell approached slowly, his weapon ready but unnecessary. The mighty creature that had fought off multiple Shrike attacks was now too tired to even defend itself. This is not how hunting should be, he said quietly. This is cruel. Daehan nodded. Yes, But this is how humans survived on Earth. We weren't the fastest or strongest. But nothing could escape us if we decided to follow it. He looked at the commander. We didn't want to show you this. We wanted you to think of us as traitors, as peaceful. Because you knew we would fear you, Crow finished. Yes. The Shrike commander looked at his exhausted warriors. Then back at the three humans who appeared tired but capable of continuing. He made a decision that would echo across his empire. We have underestimated your species. This will not happen again. They marked the Granite Horn's location for research teams to collect and headed back to the landing site. The Shrikes were quiet during the return journey. They had learned something that chilled their predatory hearts. Speed and strength could be overcome by something simpler and more terrifying: the patience to never stop hunting. The Galactic Council chamber was built to impress. It floated in space, a crystal structure where representatives from 40 species gathered to make decisions that affected billions. Today, the chamber was fuller than usual. Word had spread about the humans and their strange hunting methods. Many species wanted to learn more about these newcomers. Sunyi stood at the center of the chamber, a holographic display floating beside her. She was a cultural ambassador, trained to present humanity to the galaxy in the best possible light. But today, she had been asked to give a truthful presentation about Earth and its people. She wore traditional formal clothes and kept her expression calm, even though she could feel the weight of hundreds of eyes upon her. Honored members of the Galactic Council, she began. Thank you for inviting humanity to share our history. I will be honest with you, even when that honesty is uncomfortable. She activated the display. An image of Earth appeared, beautiful and blue. This is our homeworld. We call it Earth. An insectoid delegate named Ambassador Vorin clicked his mandibles. It appears pleasant. Standard classification? No, Sunyi replied. She touched the display, and data began scrolling beside the planet. Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. The chamber erupted in noise. Species turned to each other in shock. Dr. Milvax, an amphibious scientist from a peaceful water world, raised a webbed hand. That cannot be correct. Class 12 is reserved for planets where survival requires constant struggle. No species from such a world has ever achieved space travel. Until now, Sunyi said quietly. The chamber fell silent again. She changed the image. Now it showed Earth's past, filled with massive creatures. Our ancestors evolved alongside megafauna, animals that weighed tons with teeth longer than your arm. We were small, weak, and slow compared to them. Captain Ran, a bird-like avix with feathers that shifted colors, leaned forward. Then how did you survive? Did you hide underground? No, Sunyi said. We learned to hunt them. She showed images of ancient humans tracking mammoths, working together to bring down creatures 50 times their size. We couldn't outrun them or overpower them, so we outlasted them. We would wound an animal and follow it for days until it died from exhaustion and blood loss. That's barbaric, someone whispered. Sunyi didn't disagree. Perhaps, but it kept us alive. She showed more images. Ice ages that covered continents in frozen waste. Volcanic eruptions that darkened the sky for years. Droughts, floods, earthquakes. Our planet tried to kill us repeatedly. 99% of all species that ever lived on Earth are now extinct. But humans survived. She paused, letting that sink in. And we didn't just survive. We thrived. We spread to every continent, from frozen polar regions to burning deserts. We learned to live in places where no life should exist. Hyan Su, who had been invited to assist with the presentation, stepped forward. If I may add some technical details. At Sunyi's nod, he continued. Human bodies are designed for endurance. We can regulate our temperature through sweating, something rare in the galaxy. We can run for hours without stopping. Our hands can grip tools with precision, and we can throw objects with accuracy that most species find impossible. We've seen your physical abilities, Krell said from his seat. The Shrike commander had been invited as a witness. But many species are physically capable. What makes humans truly different? Sun-Yi smiled slightly. Our minds. She showed images of human cooperation. We are pack hunters, but our packs are different. We don't just work with family. We work with strangers, forming groups based on shared goals rather than blood. We teach each other, building knowledge across generations. Dr. Milvax was taking notes rapidly. Fascinating. But this presents a concern. You evolved as apex predators on a death world. Your species is built for hunting and killing. Why should we trust you in the galactic community? It was the question Sun-Yi had been dreading. She took a breath and showed another image. A human child playing with a dog. This is Luna, a companion animal we call a dog. Dogs evolved from wolves, predators that competed with humans for food. By all logic, we should have driven them to extinction. But you didn't? Ambassador Vorin observed. No, we made them family. Sun-Yi showed more images. Humans with cats, with horses, with animals from across Earth. We didn't just domesticate prey animals for food. We befriended predators. We turned competitors into companions. This is the other side of human nature. Yes, we can hunt. Yes, we can kill. But we can also protect, nurture, and love. She looked around the chamber. Every species here achieved space travel by escaping something. The Avics fled flying predators. The Shrikes dominated their world so completely they needed new challenges. Humanity didn't flee Earth, and we didn't conquer it. We learned to live with it. We learned that survival doesn't always mean defeating your enemy. Sometimes it means making peace with them. Captain Rand stood. Beautiful words. But the Shrikes reported that you hunted for 2 days without rest. That you tracked a creature to its death through sheer persistence. How do we reconcile that with this message of peace? Dahan, who had been sitting quietly, stood as well. Because we can do both. We hunted that granite horn, yes. But we didn't enjoy its suffering. We respected it as a worthy opponent. Humans carry both the hunter and the guardian inside us. We choose which one to be based on what the situation requires. Ji Wu added, on Earth, the same person who hunts deer will also rescue a baby bird that fell from its nest. We contain contradictions. Dr. Milvax was still writing notes. This is unprecedented. Your species is psychologically complex in ways we didn't expect from predators. We're not just predators, Sun-Yi said firmly. We're survivors who learned that cooperation is stronger than competition. We're hunters who chose to become farmers. We're warriors who built civilizations based on law instead of might. The council members talked among themselves. Finally, Ambassador Vorin spoke. What you describe is both terrifying and hopeful. But it creates a dilemma. How can we integrate a species into our community when we're not sure which aspect of their nature will dominate? The same way humans integrated different tribes on Earth, Hyan-Su said. Through communication, trade, shared goals, and time. We didn't become peaceful overnight. It took thousands of years. We still have conflicts among ourselves. But we learned that we achieve more together than apart. Krell stood, his scarred form impressive even among aliens. I have fought beside humans now. I have seen them hunt. They are dangerous, yes. But I have also seen them show mercy when they could have killed. The granite horn lives because they chose to let it live. That choice matters. The chamber was quiet for a long moment. Then Captain Rand spoke again. I propose we table the vote on full human membership until we have more data. But I also propose we establish closer ties with humanity, to learn more about this unique species. Many delegates nodded in agreement. It wasn't the full acceptance Sun Yi had hoped for, but it wasn't rejection either. It was a beginning. As the session ended and delegates filed out, Dr. Milvax approached the human group. Your presentation was enlightening and disturbing in equal measure. I have spent my life studying predator species, and I have never encountered one quite like yours. Most predators are specialists. You are generalists who excel at everything. Is that a compliment or a warning? Ji Wu asked. Both, the scientist replied honestly. He looked at Sun Yu. Your species terrifies us because you survived a world that would have killed any of ours. But you also give us hope because you turned that harsh world into a garden. I look forward to learning which nature will dominate as you spread among the stars. Sun Yi watched him leave, then turned to her companions. That went better than I expected. Did it? They asked. They're still afraid of us. Fear and respect are close neighbors, Krell said. You have earned both today. In the days that followed, the presentation would be watched by billions across the galaxy. Some species would call for humanity to be restricted, kept away from their worlds. Others would seek them out as allies. But everyone, from the smallest prey species to the mightiest predators, would remember one fact. Earth had created something new. A predator that chose when to hunt and when to protect. And nobody knew quite what to do with that. The colony of New Jeju sat in a valley between mountains on a world humanity had named Hope's End. 3,000 colonists lived there, farming the local soil and mining rare minerals. It was peaceful, far from the major trade routes, exactly the kind of place people went when they wanted quiet lives. Junho was one of those people. He had served in Earth's military for 15 years before retiring to become a farmer. At 42, he had hoped his fighting days were over. He was tending his crops when the warning came through the colony's communication system. Unknown vessel entering atmosphere. Not responding to hails. All citizens prepare for possible emergency. Junho looked up at the sky and saw it. A Shrike warship, dark against the clouds, descending toward the colony. His military training kicked in immediately. He ran toward the colony center, where Governor Park was already organizing an emergency meeting. They're landing outside the north perimeter, Park said, his voice tight with stress. I've tried every communication channel. They won't respond. Through the windows, they could see the Shrike ship touching down. Figures emerged, dozens of them, all armed. At their head was War Chief Thraken, a massive Shrike whose scales were almost black. He carried a weapon that could level buildings. The communication system crackled. Thraken's voice came through, speaking Galactic Common with contempt. Humans of New Jeju, your kind has spread lies about Shrike superiority. You have made my people look weak before the Council. I will demonstrate what happens when prey forgets its place. You have 1 hour to prepare yourselves. Then we come for you. The channel cut off. The colony center erupted in panic. 3,000 civilians, most of them farmers and miners, against Shrike warriors bred for war. It seemed impossible. We need to evacuate, Governor Park said. Get everyone to the ships. There isn't time, Junho replied. He was already thinking, his military mind assessing the situation. And they'll shoot down any ship that tries to leave. We have to defend ourselves. With what? We have mining equipment and farming tools. Junho looked around the room. He saw scared faces, but also determination. We have more than that. We have terrain knowledge, numbers, and something Shrikes don't expect. We have human stubbornness. He turned to the crowd. How many of you have military training? 15 hands went up, including one from Yunbai, the colony's doctor. She had been a combat medic before becoming a civilian physician. Yunbai, I need you to set up the medical center as a command post. You know, tactical medicine and triage. Park, get me everyone who knows how to use construction equipment. The rest of you, start gathering every tool that can be used as a weapon. We have 1 hour. What happened in that hour would later be studied by military academies across the galaxy. Junho divided the colonists into groups. Those too young or old to fight went to reinforced shelters. Everyone else became soldiers. The miners knew the tunnel systems that ran through the mountains. Junho sent teams with explosives to create choke points and traps. The farmers knew every path through the valley. They placed markers only humans could see, guiding their people while misleading the enemy. The construction workers modified their equipment into weapons and barriers. When Thraken's warriors marched into the colony, they found it seemingly abandoned. Buildings stood empty. Streets were silent. The Shrikes spread out, searching for prey. Then the first trap triggered. A mining charge exploded beneath a group of warriors, sending them flying. Before they could recover, colonists emerged from buildings, firing hunting rifles and improvised weapons. The ambush lasted 30 seconds before the humans vanished again into the structures. Thraken roared orders. His warriors regrouped and advanced more carefully. They were superior fighters, each one capable of defeating multiple humans in direct combat. When they caught colonists in the open, the fights were brief and brutal. The Shrikes began to think victory was certain. Then night fell. The Shrikes relied on their technology for night vision. The humans had grown up on this world, learning its sounds and shadows. As darkness covered the valley, the nature of the battle changed completely. Junho led a team through tunnels the Shrikes didn't know existed. They emerged behind enemy positions, striking fast and disappearing before the aliens could respond. Yumbai coordinated from the medical center, tracking Shrike movements through security cameras and directing colonist teams to avoid or ambush them as needed. Updates, group of young colonists, none older than 25, used the ventilation systems in the colony buildings to move unseen. They would appear above Shrike patrols, drop makeshift explosives, and vanish before the enemy could react. The Shrikes started firing at shadows, wasting ammunition on nothing. The aliens grew frustrated and afraid. These weren't the soft prey they expected. These humans fought with a coordination and determination that seemed insane. When Shrikes wounded colonists, they expected them to retreat. Instead, the injured humans often fought harder, covering their companions' escapes with desperate ferocity. On the second day, Thraken made a mistake. He concentrated his forces for a direct assault on the medical center, thinking it was the human command post. Junho had anticipated this. The building was abandoned except for traps. When the Shrikes breached the doors, half the structure collapsed on them. The real command center was in the tunnels below. The battle became a nightmare for the Shrike warriors. They couldn't find an enemy that refused to face them directly. Every street corner could hide an ambush. Every building could be a trap. The humans used the terrain like another weapon, luring Shrikes into kill zones and then melting away. By treated the wounded in makeshift field hospitals, then sent them back to fight if they could still move. She saw injuries that should have kept people down, but the colonists refused to quit. A farmer named Tae-jin kept fighting with a broken arm. A teenager named Yuna continued directing her team even after being shot in the leg. The Shrikes had never encountered an enemy like this. By the third day, Thraken had lost over half his warriors. The rest were exhausted, jumping at shadows, firing at sounds. They had killed many humans, yes, but not nearly enough. For every colonist they brought down, two more seemed to appear. Jun-Ho stood on a rooftop, watching the Shrike positions through binoculars. He was tired, bleeding from a dozen small wounds, but his mind was clear. Beside him, a young colonist named Minho waited for orders. They're breaking, Junho observed. Look how they bunch together. They're scared. Should we press the attack? Minho asked. No, let them leave. We've made our point. Below, Thraken was making the same decision. He had come to conquer an easy target and had instead found hell. These humans fought like they had nothing to lose and everything to prove. They used tactics no honorable warrior would employ, attacking from shadows and using traps instead of facing enemies directly. But Thraken was wise enough to recognize the truth. Honor meant nothing if you were dead. These humans weren't fighting for honor. They were fighting for survival, and that made them infinitely more dangerous. Retreat to the ship, he ordered his remaining warriors. We leave this cursed place. The Shrikes withdrew, carrying their wounded and dead. The colonists didn't pursue. They watched from their hiding places as the warship lifted off and disappeared into the sky dot in the colony center. The survivors gathered. They had won, but the cost was heavy. 200 colonists dead, 500 wounded. Buildings were destroyed. Crops were burned. But they had survived. Governor Park approached Junho, his face showing exhaustion and respect. You saved us. We saved ourselves, Junho corrected. Every person here fought. Every person here refused to give up. Unbai joined them, her medical clothes covered in blood. The wounded will recover. We'll rebuild. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than the Shrike warship could travel. The story changed depending on who told it. Some called it a miracle. Others called it inevitable. But everyone agreed on one fact. The Shrikes, the great warrior race, had been defeated by farmers and miners who refused to be prey. Humanity had shown the galaxy what happened when you cornered an apex predator and gave it no choice but to fight. Learned that teeth and claws meant nothing compared to determination and the willingness to do whatever it took to protect your own. The Galactic Council chamber was filled to capacity. Every species that held membership had sent representatives, and many more watched through broadcasts across 1,000 worlds. The attack on New Jeju had forced a decision that could no longer be delayed. What would the galaxy do about humanity? Ambassador Minseo stood before the council, older than Sunyi and carrying the weight of decades in diplomatic service. She had been pulled from retirement for this moment because humanity needed its most experienced voice. The chamber was hostile. She could feel it in the way delegates avoided her eyes, in the whispered conversations that stopped when she approached. High Chancellor Vex, a being of pure energy contained in a crystalline shell, spoke first. Ambassador Minseo, this council convened to address the threat posed by your species. The attack on New Jeju, while repelled, demonstrated human capacity for violence. Some members believe humanity should be quarantined to your own systems. Others suggest more extreme measures. You may speak in your defense. Minseo took a breath. She had prepared a speech, careful words designed to soothe fears. But looking at the faces around her, she knew careful words wouldn't work. The galaxy needed truth, not diplomacy. Thank you, Chancellor. I will be direct. Yes, humans are dangerous. Yes, we come from a world that would kill most species in this chamber within days. Yes, we fought and defeated a Shrike war party despite being outnumbered and outgunned. All of this is true. The chamber stirred with nervous energy. This wasn't the defense they expected. But let me tell you what else is true, Minseo continued. The colonists of New Jeju didn't want to fight. They're farmers and miners who left Earth seeking peace. They built a community based on cooperation, not conflict. When the Shrikes attacked, they defended themselves because they had no choice. And when the enemy retreated, they didn't pursue. They didn't seek revenge. They let them go. Ambassador Vorin clicked his mandibles skeptically. You're suggesting mercy makes you safe to integrate into galactic society? No, Mincio replied. I'm suggesting that choice makes us safe. Humans can be violent, yes, but we choose when to fight and when to show mercy. That choice is what defines us. Captain Rand ruffled his feathers. Beautiful philosophy. But philosophy doesn't protect us if humanity decides to expand through conquest. Before Mincio could respond, the chamber doors opened. Daehyun, Jiwoo, Junho, and Yunbai entered, along with someone unexpected. Krell, the Shrike commander, walked beside a young human woman no older than 20. This was Beora, a colonial explorer who had been working in Shrike space. High Chancellor Vex's crystalline form brightened with surprise. Commander Krell, you were not invited to this session. I invited myself, Krell replied, his voice firm. Because this council is making decisions based on fear rather than facts. You need to see something. He gestured to Bara, who activated a holographic display. It showed the two of them working together on a mission, solving complex problems that require both human endurance and Shrike strength. They moved in coordination, anticipating each other's actions, functioning as a perfect team. This is Bara, Krell said. She has worked with me for 6 months. She is human, an apex predator from a death world. I am Shrike, born to hunt and conquer. By all logic, we should be enemies. Then why aren't you? Dr. Milvax asked, genuinely curious. Bara smiled. Because he asked me to teach him persistence hunting, and I asked him to teach me Shrike combat techniques. We learned from each other. We became friends. Krell's scarred face showed something like pride. When I first met humans, I thought they were weak prey, pretending to be strong. Then I saw them hunt. I thought they were just another predator species, perhaps more persistent than most. But I was wrong about that too. He turned to face the council directly. Humans are the first species I have encountered that can be both predator and protector, depending on what is needed. On New Jeju, they were warriors because they had to be. But in peace, they are builders and farmers. This flexibility, this ability to choose, is what makes them valuable, not dangerous. Ambassador Voran wasn't convinced. You were defeated by them. Perhaps this clouds your judgment. My judgment is clearer now than before, Krell countered. War Chief Thraken attacked New Jeju to prove Shrike's superiority. He was defeated because he underestimated humans. I did not underestimate them. I learned from them. And in doing so, I became stronger. Junho stepped forward. If I may speak, I'm the one who organized the defense of New Jeju. I killed Shrike warriors to protect my people. I won't apologize for that, but I also don't celebrate it. Every death, human or Shrike, was a failure of communication and understanding. Unbai added, I treated both human and Shrike wounded after the battle. We captured several injured warriors before they could retreat. I could have let them die. Instead, I saved them and sent them home. Not because I'm merciful, but because I'm a doctor. My nature as a healer is as strong as my nature as a survivor. Mencio seized on this moment. This is what I'm trying to explain. Humans contain multitudes. We are capable of great violence and great compassion, often in the same person. We evolved this way because our world demanded it. She changed the holographic display to show Earth's history. Not the violence this time, but the cooperation. Humans building cities, creating art, forming governments based on shared rules rather than might. Look at our history, Menseo said. Yes, we fought wars. Every species here has fought wars. But we also built the United Nations, an organization designed to prevent conflict through dialogue. We created laws to protect the weak from the strong. We developed philosophy and ethics and art. We didn't just survive Earth. We transformed it from a death world into a garden. Dr. Milvax was studying the data intensely, I've been researching human history since the last session. What fascinates me is your domestication of other species. You didn't just conquer prey animals. You befriended predators. Wolves became dogs. Wildcats became house pets. You even tried to befriend bears, though I understand that was less successful. Despite the tension, several delegates made sounds that might have been laughter. My point, Milvax continued, is that humans have a unique ability to extend their social bonds beyond their own species. They form packs with aliens. Look at Commander Krell and Bora. That partnership would be impossible for most predator species. We're too territorial, too competitive. But humans seem to actively seek out cooperation with others. Chancellor Vex's light pulsed thoughtfully. If this is true, it changes the equation. A species that can fight but chooses peace is valuable. A species that can include others in its pack could unite the galaxy rather than divide it. But can we trust this? Captain Ran asked. What if humanity's peaceful nature is just a strategy? What if they're waiting to gain our trust before striking? Bora laughed, surprising everyone. Sorry, but that's ridiculous. If humans wanted to conquer the galaxy, we wouldn't need to be sneaky about it. We'd just outlast you. Remember the persistence hunt? That's not just physical. That's mental. Humans are patient. If we wanted your worlds, we'd take them eventually. The fact that we're here asking for partnership instead of taking it by force should tell you something. The blunt honesty was shocking, but it was also convincing in a way polite words couldn't be. G-Wu spoke up for the first time. My brother and I are traders. We make our living by finding what different species need and providing it. That's not the behavior of conquerors. That's the behavior of people who want to be part of something larger than themselves. Daehan nodded. When we trapped the Void Stalker on Kepler 7, we could have killed it. Instead, we contained it for study. When we hunted with the Shrikes, we could have let the Granite Horn die. We chose not to. Humanity keeps choosing cooperation over conquest. At some point, you have to trust that these choices reflect our real nature. Chancellor Vex dimmed and brightened several times, the equivalent of deep thought. This council has a decision to make. Do we accept humanity as full members, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails? Or do we restrict them out of fear? The debate that followed lasted for hours. Species argued passionately on both sides. But slowly, a consensus emerged. Fear alone was not sufficient reason to reject a species that had demonstrated both capability and restraint. Finally, High Chancellor Vex spoke. By a vote of 32-8, this council grants humanity full membership in the galactic community. You will have equal rights, equal representation, and equal responsibility for maintaining peace among the stars. The chamber erupted in mixed reactions. Some species cheered. Others walked out in protest. But the decision was made. Mincio felt tears in her eyes. Humanity had been accepted, not despite their nature, but because of it. As the chamber emptied, Krull approached the human delegation. He performed a gesture, pressing his clawed hand against his chest, that Shrikes reserved for the highest respect. I was wrong about your kind, he said. I thought you were prey, pretending to be predators. The truth is stranger. You are predators who chose to be something more. Daehan returned the gesture as best he could. And you are predators who chose to learn rather than conquer. Maybe that's what we all are. Beings trying to be better than our nature demands.